Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. Long time no see when it comes to prepper pantry talk and food shortage, but I'm just jumping back into this. I am doing it with an open mind. I am calling it my back storage pantry. You can honestly call it whatever you want, and it doesn't make you crazy. It doesn't make you a conspiracy theorist. It makes you prepared, which is what is important. Today, we are talking about some food shortages that I am predicting for 2023. I got together with some of my local vendors. We have a multitude of farms that are available to us to get a lot of our goods, and I spoke with the owners and wrote down some things that they were talking to me about, some things that are going up in price that they may not be able to afford, some ingredients and main contributors to the crops that they grow that are not a good quality product anymore, which makes you wonder about some things. So we're going to get into that today. I have a list of 5 to not overwhelm you. In these past, I'd say 5 months that I haven't been doing these videos, I still have been prepping, so I have plenty of content for you, showing you what I've been doing to prepare for emergencies in my specific setting. So this is going to be specific to you and your family, and if you're new here, we would love it if you hit that subscribe button. We make videos 4 to 5 times a week all about life here in Colorado on a budget and what I do to prepare as a mother of 3 and wife for our family in case of any emergencies. So if you're into that kind of thing, hit the thumbs up button. We would love it if you became part of our YouTube family. All right, let's get into this list. First one on the list is not going to shock many, and that is flour. So I was talking to my local grain guy. There's actually a team up here, and this mill is just, I'd say, 2 miles up the road. We actually have a ton of them around us. I was unaware of that, but I just go to this mill, and he was saying that a lot of their product that comes in is coming from a specific region. I'm not going to say where. You can Google it. YouTube will flag me if I say the region where it's coming from, but majority of what we get in the US is from this region, and my mill does receive some product from them. So it's not specifically what they grow in their fields, but it's a combination of both. It's more of like a hybrid seed is my understanding, and that's going up in price, as well as the product itself that is coming in. It's not of the quantity that it used to be. So flour, if you have it in the budget, you can stock up on that. I find my flour at Azure Standard. You can get them in 50-pound bags. And if you're unaware of the company, Azure is great. You create your account, you can go on there and save some of your favorites, and they do once a month drops in my area. I'm not sure if it's different in other areas, and then you go to that drop, you all help out and unload the truck, and you get to talk with some like-minded people, which is really great, especially for us introverts who typically don't get out of the house. So I really enjoy Azure Standard, but if that is not your cup of tea, you could totally go to your local mill and grab from them, which I do that from time to time. It just depends what kind of grain that I am needing. And then you can find some buckets at your local bakery. I've had people tell me about Firehouse Subs. You can grab those for $3. Panera sells their pickle buckets. Walmart used to give them for free. You could get them at Tractor Supply and pay for them, but you can store long-term flour in those bags. Of course, you could always use Mylar bags. Just search in my emergency preparedness playlist and it shows you how I do that. But we always have flour on hand. It depends if you can digest it. A lot of people can't. So a flour alternative is always a good idea. But when you're talking about flour alternatives, a lot of them are nut-based. So long-term storage is not really an option unless I'm forgetting something. So let me know if you do not digest flour and you, okay, my camera fell over, whoops. Let me know if you don't digest flour and you are a long-term food storage person. What kind of flour or flour alternative do you store? Just let me know. But yeah, like I said, Walmart has a really great product. I always try and get unbleached, but that's up to you. You could get whole wheat flour. Again, that probably won't store as long. Target always has like 20% off of their Good and Gather, so that's an option as well. And I love the Big Arthur brand, and you can find that at a good price at Whole Foods, believe it or not. I'm assuming because it doesn't really compete with some of the ritzier flours out there. Next one on the list is corn. That was a prediction since 2020. I had to look back in my videos. Corn is a huge one, and especially in my area, I was talking to our next farmer up the road who we get a lot of our produce from, and he was saying his soil has been affected, which we have talked about on the channel before, and corn production is just not there. That combined with a dry season here in Colorado has really, really taken a toll on a lot of our farms. We use corn for many different reasons, and we really enjoy it. Some people can't digest it. I've gotten that comment before. Why would you store corn? I like it. That's pretty much why. So if you like it, store it. I always talk about that. If it's something that you enjoy, store it in your pantry. If it's Kraft macaroni and cheese and you enjoy it, store it in your pantry. It's okay. So corn, yeah, that's a big one. You could grow it in your yard, which we did, but it's just not enough corn to last us through the whole year, and we don't have a mill, so if you're grinding down your corn, it's totally possible, but it can be tedious if you're doing it in a food processor or a high-speed blender, so you have to keep that in mind. But we do use corn a lot in a lot of different recipes, and we live in an area where corn masa is of great abundance. You can find that in any grocery store just because of the heavy Hispanic population in my area, and we eat tamales probably every other week, and we use a lot of our corn masa for different types of recipes. We like to make arepas with it. I mean, there's just so many different types of recipes we use corn products in. If you're new here, I'd love it if you checked out my recipe playlist, and you will find just how much corn we truly eat. The next one is tomatoes, and I kind of put that right next to corn because it lends to produce. So I think it's about 75% of the United States produce is coming from California. I didn't know that. I had to look that up. I could be wrong, but it's from a reputable source. And that produce is kind of having that same issue where the soil is just not what it used to be. And from my understanding, that is what is affecting the cost of tomatoes and the shortages you may be seeing of tomatoes and tomato-based products in your local stores. My solution for this is to grow your own. And I know a lot of us may not be able to garden, but that's what I do. We live on less than an acre, and we made food for the whole year. Again, if you're new here, you'll have to check out some of my videos. We like to can, we water bath can. So a lot of what we eat are tomato-based products. We make pasta sauces, salsas, you know, just your basic tomato-based products. But if you cannot grow your own, I would definitely suggest heading into the store and finding an organic can of tomatoes. I also get mine from Azure Standard. The brand Jovial comes in glass containers, and I really like that because I can reuse that glass container for water bath canning. Believe it or not, it has the right lid, or different things around the house. You could totally use it for water storage as well. If you're storing some water for power outages or something like that, it's always better to store in glass as opposed to plastic. So that's an option. Tomatoes is number 3 on the list, and I'm assuming that these next lists coming up in the weeks ahead will include a lot of different produce. So I'm looking forward to sharing some ideas with you on what to do if you enjoy produce just as much as I do. I really enjoy gardening it though, so I suggest trying to find a way to do that. There are many accounts that I follow that can garden indoors using hydroponic systems and things like that, so definitely check that out if you're curious. I assumed it would be super expensive, but it's really not if you get the correct system. So definitely look into that. If you have any suggestions or insight on produce in the country and why you're seeing a shortage, let me know. But definitely check where your produce is coming from. You know, when I walk into Walmart and some of the bigger box stores, I do see a lot of produce in front of me, but the prediction is that this coming year will be a very, very low crop year. So we will see. Again, these are just predictions, and I'd rather be prepared. The next one are dried beans, and people are probably sick of rice and beans on these shortages / preparedness channels, but beans are a huge crop in my area. I didn't know that moving here, and specifically pinto and black beans is what I'm talking about. And I guess my understanding, I had to get a little bit of a translation from one of my farms, but what I was understanding is the machinery itself, it's not being made the same, or it's not readily available to them. And that could be something that is specific to this company, but it is going to affect me. So dried beans are on my list, and I eat a lot of beans. I'm a pescatarian. I don't eat a ton of fish, so I lean more towards vegetarian, but I need to get some extra protein some way, and beans are a great way to do it, and it's a super cheap option. If you don't have the ability to cook a dry bean, I don't know what situation y'all are in, but you could use canned beans and that would help you as well. I have so many bean recipes on my channel. Again, check out that recipe playlist. But I find that a lot of dried beans are better stored long term. So as soon as I get my Azure order, I just get the 50-pound bag of beans and I just put that right into my buckets. Or you could put it in Mylar storage again. I also store them in glass and vacuum seal all the air out of them. That's an option as well. You could pressure can beans if you wanted to. And if you're not getting them from Azure, you can check your local farms. I do a once a year farm order from my local bean farmer just because of price. We're still on a budget here, and it is a little bit more expensive to get that organic variety from this farm. I love to support them, but I can't do it all the time. So that is why I order from Azure as well. If those are both not an option for you, Walmart again has a great selection of beans, and Target, Good and Gather. Every time I have the app, the Target Rewards app, I don't pay into it or anything, and I just check what I need on my list and see if there's any coupons. If there's not any coupons, I really look at that ingredient and I say, do I need this? And if it's something like dried beans and I know we're going to use it, I will buy it, but typically they're super cheap. Sometimes you'll find it with 20% off is what I'm trying to get at there. So if you don't have the Target app and you want to try it out, go ahead and try it out. We are here in Colorado and Target is readily available, but I grew up in rural northern Pennsylvania where Target is just not something that's close. So I get that if you don't have that. Walmart has an app but doesn't have coupons for it, but you could totally look at your local grocery stores as well. I'm just trying to find you the cheapest option. Next on the list, I don't know if this will be specific to me, but it is something to talk about, and that is seeds and soil. I'm an avid gardener. I would do it year round if I could figure out a way to do that, to have some sort of temperature controlled greenhouse. But unfortunately, Colorado winters are unpredictable and we get a lot of negative days. We were down at negative 25 the other week. We have chickens and ducks and they were just not having that, and I saw how it affected them. It probably would not affect my produce even if it was in a temperature controlled greenhouse. I don't know though. I've never grew in a large scale greenhouse, so we'll see this year. I'd love to get a high tunnel and get that going, but seeds and soil are super important to me in the event of an emergency where we cannot get to the grocery store for an extended amount of time, or maybe that product isn't there. I'd love to be able to grow it on our own. And the quality of seeds I have seen are just not where they used to be. I had a local farm send me some product, Saltyacres, big shout out to you. I will leave their information linked in the description box. And they were amazing to work with, so definitely check them out. There are different places where you can get your seeds, Johnny's, Haas's, so many different places. But if you are getting them, I suggest maybe getting an heirloom variety. That way you can save the seed and replant. We do that a lot as well. And then we just put those seeds in Mylar. That way it's a gift that keeps giving is what I tell my husband. You can pick the produce, save the seeds, and then keep going. You can just keep planting. So I know that's not true of every heirloom variety, and you really have to be careful with hybrid varieties, which I know there are a lot of opinions on that as well. I used to be totally against hybrid varieties, but if they're at a great price, like the other day I found at Kroger for 25 cents, I picked up a few tomato seed plants and they were heirloom beefsteaks, which is kind of unheard of to find for 25 cents. So definitely check that out. If you have a local greenhouse that sells some varieties, definitely look into that. But I would suggest trying to grow on your own. Again, I know it's not possible for everyone, but it is always fun to see if you can get outside and grow something. It's super fulfilling, and it's a huge mental health saver for me. So I did want to put that in there. And then I did put soil on the list, and this is more of a question for the community. I have a great community down here. Again, if you want to be a part of us, it would be really awesome. We talk positively, and a lot of us are pretty witty, so you might find some humor down there. But what I was going to say is soil. The soil that I got this season was not the best. I will say a lot of our local nurseries sold soil, but again, it wasn't the best. We have compost in the backyard, but I'm going to be honest with you, it's not enough for the scale of gardening and food preservation that I want. So what are some of your suggestions to get good quality soil that I can trust? I don't know if anyone has come across any solutions to this. It was a problem in the summer that we talked about. So let me know in the comments down below. Where do you get your soil? What are your suggestions? Maybe I could be doing something more with my compost to make it be a larger scale operation. I don't know. I am opening the floor to all of you if you want to answer that question for me. I'd really appreciate it. And last but not least on this list is going to be water. I'm going to put this on every single list, so I hope you don't get sick of it, but water is super important. If you're going to start your low tox life or your preparedness journey, start with water, air, and food, some things that you can control. Water is important. Water is a really important one. I feel like it gets talked about a lot, but you don't get to see it often. So if you want to see how we store our water, let me know. I can do a video and I will dive right into it. I can show you how we store it, how we plan to filter it, how we plan to get some. We have, a whole setup, wagons and some buckets to take from the river. And, there's a lot that goes into it. We're fortunate enough to live in Colorado where we could get to a spring and get some water and then filter it out if we needed to. But I feel like people forget about this because they just think about the food, which I get. I love food and I think about it too. But water needs to coexist with your priority of food. If not, make it a little higher on your list of priorities because it is so important. I can't say it more. So when I'm storing water now, I'm typically trying to store it in some glass containers. So you might see in some of my grocery hauls that I'm trying to switch completely to glass, which is easier said than done because, wow, things are out of control with inflation right now. So I don't know. We will see what happens. I have my ways of storing water. I have my ways of getting water. And, it's going to vary for everyone. And we were talking about it. Our big goal here, if you're new here, is to find some land closer to home. So the idea is to move back to rural Pennsylvania. But we do need a water source. In order to do that, I want a water source right on the property. I don't want to necessarily live completely off grid, but I want that to be an option if ever anything were to happen. And we want some acres, and I'm talking 50 to 100. I want a lot of acreage. I want a lot of land. So it is something to think about. And I have been taking this time because our move is planned, but it's a big operation to move a whole family from state to state. If any of you have done it, I'm sure you know that. I know a lot of military families follow me, and my heart goes out to you because even thinking about it is just absolutely exhausting. But what I'm trying to do in this time is to learn some new skills, not necessarily master them, but experience them so I can get a handle on doing things on my own land. That's my idea. And my water system is not perfect. So again, I'm opening the floor. What are your ideas for storing water? What is your plan? What do you have set in place? Because I know there are so many different walks of lives. We live in so many different ways. So I'd love to know, if you live in an apartment, what do you plan to do? If you live off grid, what is your plan if you're not next to a water source? I know in Pennsylvania, there are a lot of springs as well. So, there's a lot to think about, but water is last on that list. And again, I wanted to keep the list short and sweet. So I'm going to wrap it up here. Again, I am easing my way back into the prepper content. It just gets a little strange in the comments. It attracts some people that I'm not a huge fan of, but it does attract some really great people, and we've made some awesome connections. So if you have something positive to contribute, please write something down in the comments. I'd love to get to know you. Let me know where you're from if you ever feel like it. And yeah, I'd love to have a conversation. So if you want to email me, my email is always open. I'm active on Instagram mainly. I have a Facebook, but I'm not really active on there. I don't do the other socials. It's just not my thing. So if you are active on Instagram and want to follow me over there, go ahead and message me and introduce yourself. I'd love to get to know you. Stay tuned for this week. We have some more budget hauls, and I have a leftover makeovers video and a shelf cooking video, as well as 50 meals for $15. I'm really excited about that. And those are servings. So you might see that it's maybe 4 to 5 meals, but that's the servings that you're getting, if that makes sense. So if you're into that kind of thing, again, we'd love it if you hit that subscribe button. As always, stay adventurous, stay creative. I'll catch you on the next one. Bye, y'all.
Following a shadow down to the graveyard, gonna say a prayer, gonna pay my dues. I've been running wild ever since I left Virginia, trying to find a face that might remind me of you. I can see the sunlight rising in the mountains, orange and red in the morning sky. I know that the world is every steady changing. Lord, give me wings so I could fly away, fly away, fly away, fly away, fly. Any heart can shatter like a pane of glass. To the wind it scatters, and let's go at last. Sing another song for the ones in sorrow. Sing about the smiles that they'll never see. Sing about a love